Hi, my name is Orla. Welcome to my channel. In this channel I read short stories for children and adults who are interested. In this video I will be reading another story from Girls Who Slay Monsters. Daring Tales of Ireland's Forgotten Goddesses. Stories by Ellen Ryan, illustrated by Shona, Shirley, MacDonald. So get cozy, cuddle down, and let's begin. This story is about a woman called Scothniam. That's her. She's a very tough lady. Scothniam. She's the Avenger of refugees, and she's from the Roscommon and Meath area in Ireland. Scothniam was a timid goddess, small and delicate as a flower. She was from the realm of the cats, a hellish underworld ruled by monsters, where the air heaved with the stench of rotting meat and it was always night time. Here, Scothniam lived with her parents and the rest of their tribe on a god-made island known as a crannog. It was within a dark loch. Her home was surrounded by high walls, protecting them from killer cats that stalked the shore. Pigs with poisonous breath wilted the meadows and forests, leaving little to eat but slimy, rotten fruit. Scothniam and her people were often hungry and never safe. One Halloween, after a tough month where they had barely eaten, Scothniam's father had had enough. He told her he must travel to Ireland in search of a better home for their family. Scothniam begged him not to go. "Please, Daddy, I heard scary stories about the cruelty of mortals. I'm just as afraid to leave this realm as I am to stay." He kissed her gently on the forehead. But his mind was made up. "Don't worry, daughter. I'll come back to you very soon, and then we'll all have a better life." But after 12 long months, he still hadn't returned. Scothniam's father had entered Ireland through a portal called the Cave of Cats, but the portal was guarded by soldiers of the mortal king. They accused the goddess's father of trespassing on royal territory, so they captured him and imprisoned him. The king didn't care about her father's struggles. He didn't want to share his land. On the first anniversary of Scothniam's father's departure, Halloween morning, her mother finally accepted that her husband wasn't coming back. She wept with worry and sadness. "What will we do now without our protector and provider?" she asked her daughter. But Scothniam didn't weep, and for once she wasn't afraid. She was angry. How dare anyone take her father, and how could her mother give up on him? "I refuse to let my father go," she roared. "I tell you now, Mammy, I will never abandon him." Scothniam became so enraged that her whole body vibrated until soon she was shaking violently as though her insides were fighting to break out of her skin. The delicate goddess stretched out in size, ripping her yellow silk dress until the muscles in her arms bulged so big they looked like soldiers' fists. Her soft hair twisted upwards into bright silver spikes like a thorn bush, sharp enough to pierce skin. And from down in her belly, incredible strength surged through her limbs. Scothniam had unlocked a power no one could have expected, transforming the timid goddess into a hulking monster. and you can see it in the picture. Remember that one? The muscles, spiky hair. She's the girl on a mission. She howled out into the starless night. The wild she-wolves of her homeland answered the call, sprinting to her side. With her new power, the goddess swore to avenge her family, even if it meant single-handedly finding and facing her enemies. And so it was that the king's soldiers saw Scothniam emerge, filthy with mud, from the cave of cats. The moment she saw the soldiers, she guessed they were to blame for her father's disappearance. "Mortal men, you will pay for your crimes," Scothniam bellowed. Horrified at her bulging appearance and colossal size, they shook with fear. The goddess skillfully brandished a spear in each hand and forced one of the frightened men to tell her where she could find their leader. The bravest soldiers tried to attack her, but Scothniam simply outran them. Even those on horseback, her feet were so fast they scorched the earth. Scothniam discovered her father's captor was king of the Brega tribe with a castle in County Meath. She set off to hunt him down and quickly reached the king's village, smashing chariots and huts to pieces with her bare hands, leaving only splinters behind. But with the help of his bodyguards, the king managed to escape the village and seek shelter in the mountains beyond. The rest of his army stayed behind to attack the goddess. They surrounded the royal castle and took fire. Arrows fell like rain upon her head, but Scothniam dodged every one. The terrified local mortals were caught up in the fighting and were forced to take cover as best they could. Scothniam sprinted on until she reached the castle. With total ease, she broke through the army lines, knocking soldiers down like skittles. Then, using the full strength of her body, she blasted through the castle walls. Scothniam tore through the building in search of her father. She raced down corridors and bursting through door after door, but there was no sign of him. Eventually, the goddess made her way down the castle's stone staircase and into the dungeons, where she found a huge, dim chamber that smelled of damp and must. She called out into the darkness, but there was no response. Where could her father be? Had she missed a room? But as she hesitated, a fist connected with her head, and the goddess fell to the ground like a stone. The king's most fearsome warrior woman had followed her into the castle and now stood over her, a glinting sword in her hand. With a rousing battle cry, the warrior lifted the weapon over her head and drove it down towards Scothniam. With extraordinary speed, the goddess swerved out of the enemy's path. Scothniam scrambled to her feet, turned and raced back up the stone stairs, smashing her fist through the walls as she went. So as the warrior chased her, she was hit by the falling rocks. By the time the goddess got back outside, the castle was little more than a mound of rubble. Unable to find her father, Scothniam called upon her she-wolves to round up and steal the king's best cattle, and brought them with her through the cave of the cats. Back at home, the monsters Scothniam once feared now cowered at the sight of such a hulking, wild-eyed goddess surrounded by snarling wolves, and none dared to steal her cattle. From then on, Scothniam replaced her father as protector and provider, using the cows to feed her people. Back in Meath, the king spent a whole year rebuilding his property and buying more livestock. But the following Halloween, on the next anniversary of her father's disappearance, Scothniam came back to attack and steal again. The once frightened, now fearless goddess returned every Halloween, causing untold destruction. Eventually, the Irish mortals grew weary of the attacks, so they threw their king off his throne and released Scothniam's father from prison. He'd been kept in a secret stronghold high up in County Meath's Cailleach Mountain, but now he returned to his family, grateful to his brave and loyal daughter. Finally, there was peace. And from then on, the people of Ireland learned that they should be kinder to refugees searching for a better home, or risk Scothniam returning to wreak vengeance. The end. That was a good story from Girls Who Slay Monsters. Till the next one. Bye bye.